It's not every day that a group of friends get together to not only backyard wrestle, but to throw your best friend over a cliff in a trash can, and the next minute you're lying in a pool of your own blood crying to your mom. Or throwing your opponent from a 25-foot high rooftop right on your butt, having a tiny thin table to soften your blow, but you end up breaking your tailbone and much more. That, my friends, is called backyard wrestling.
Okay, dude, what's wrong?
An underground hobby involving untrained practices of professional style wrestling, typically in a low budget environment, and although not legitimized, backyard wrestling is often organized into promotions mimicking actual professional wrestling. Sometimes I get curious to see what I can expect from backyard wrestling, but when I went deeper into the rabbit hole, well, I like to share what I saw and experienced sitting in my cozy home finding this gold content on the internet. The best of backyard wrestling, or in this case the most unsafe style of wrestling, achieved its peak in popularity during 1996 till 2001 when the Attitude Era and ECW style of wrestling experienced a massive boom. And during this time, a promotion known as Real Wrestling Federation was born. I have no idea how I ended up finding anything about this company, but when you suffer from insomnia and are up at 2 in the morning trying to sleep but can't, the internet will take you to some wild places.
Stop it. Get some help.
So RFW had a bunch of these kids that I always wondered if they ever learned wrestling from a proper wrestling school, cause some of these moves are actually well executed and it shows how passionate these kids were about killing each other. The real question, however, is that how much money were these guys making, if any, and was it all worth it given the broken bones, the endless supply of concussions, and the buckets amounts of blood loss? I mean, I'm sure the American healthcare system wasn't any better in the 90s or even in the 2000s.
Eligible for what I've been able to do with the we finally beat Medicare.
You have these well untrained athletes that somehow found an abandoned structure in a canyon in California. Put a few poles around it, throw some sheet over some sand and rock, and there you go, they got themselves a ring. Add in a cheap camcorder to the mix, a dude with a referee t-shirt along with 10 spectators, and we have a full-blown backyard wrestling promotion on our hands.
Oh my god! Wow!
The crap these children were doing to each other is simply mind-numbing. How did they not get paralyzed, or how is it that someone didn't suffer from a horrific life-altering injury? And what were their parents doing, cause someone had to show up at home with a lot of scars that cannot go unnoticed? The overall point of wrestling is to make money since it's a business, so again, how much did y'all make?
I'm broke, nigga, I'm broke!
One kid that particularly stands out, and I was able to find some information on him, is this backyard wrestler called Stray Cat. Could not really tell what the story behind this Stray Cat gimmick is, but this child took some serious damage, especially in a ladder match that I'm not sure if I can show it in full detail due to the YouTube guidelines. This guy took bumps which looked brutal due to the lack of obvious training and wrestling experience, getting powerbombed on thumbtacks and suplexed from a ladder, again on thumbtacks, and then taking a razor's edge on the hard unprotected ground. How did Stray Cat manage to stay alive and not lose his memory? Real name Kyle Gilmore thankfully retired from wrestling and is now a father of 2 running a Mexican restaurant in California. Eventually the authorities were able to find out about what was going on up this hill and decided to burn the entire structure to the ground. Maybe because they realized that these kids were never gonna stop wrestling, so how about they make an arena closer to a hospital? As one of the final matches that took place in this arena of death involved a wrestler called Youth Suicide. Yup, that's his wrestling name. Youth Suicide managed to take a bump like this, and this resulted in him not feeling his legs, most likely being temporarily paralyzed. He had to be carried down in a makeshift stretcher and taken to the hospital immediately, so perhaps having an arena closer to the hospital wasn't a bad idea after all. The only redeemable aspect of backyard wrestling that I can think of is Mick Foley, as he also started his wrestling career with jumping off the roof of his house, and then eventually graduated to jumping off a 40-foot high cage, making a legendary name for himself in professional wrestling. Backyard wrestling was able to gain enough popularity back in the day to have a video game based off of it that was released on Xbox. The most notable part of this game included the infamous wrestler New Jack on its front cover, and rumor has it that he was all coked out during his contributions to this game.
The lunatic, and he was a super duper cokehead on top of it. Right. So without coke, he's already like this. You know what I'm saying?
The point of me making this video is for someone to explain to me, if they can, why? Why do this kind of wrestling? For starters, these kids could wrestle without the weapons to lower the risk of injury, but they didn't. Has any other backyard wrestler besides Mick Foley made it big in this business? What did the hospital bills look like for these backyard wrestlers, and are they still paying for it 20-some years later? Did these unknown promotions sell any DVDs? Why weren't the parents of these backyard wrestlers not concerned? How did these kids fund all the weapons like tube lights, barbed wires, and thumbtacks? Were they working at a Burger King and instead of saving that money to go to college, they ended up spending it on hurting each other? I'm so confused. Let me know in the comments if anyone has the answers to these questions. Because after watching just a little bit of backyard wrestling, all I'm left with is more questions than answers.